What is going on, everybody? In this video, I'm going to be previewing the 2025 college football schedule for Tennessee. I'm going to go through every single game on their 2025 schedule and predict their record for 2025. But before we do get into their schedule, let's talk about this team. This is a Tennessee team that is coming off of a 10-win season and they ended up making the playoffs. Unfortunately, they got destroyed by Ohio State. But next season, they actually have a similar schedule to what they had last season. So if they can be as good as they were last season, they could definitely repeat and go back to the playoffs. But honestly, that could be tough to do because this is a Tennessee team that only returns 10 starters, only 3 starters on offense. They lose 4 offensive linemen, and of course, their star quarterback in Nico Iamaleava. They lost an elite running back in Dylan Sampson. He really helped carry the load on the offense last season. Defensively, I do think they will be good again. They got a decent amount of starters back on defense, but the secondary still has some question marks and they will need to grow there because despite going 10-2, they were pretty weak in the secondary. They had one of the top front sevens in the nation, but when they played good passing offenses, they got torched, and it really showed against Ohio State. Now, look, I get it. Josh Heupel is all about recruiting and building this program through recruiting, but they added one defensive player through the transfer portal, and they didn't add that many key additions on offense either. I don't understand why they didn't utilize the portal that much, because they're actually near the bottom of the SEC in return in production. They are 81st in the country for return in production, and they only return 39% of the production on offense. It's going to be a complete reload for them, and they didn't make any big additions through the portal. They lost an elite defensive player in James Pierce Jr. as well. So their best player on offense and their best player on defense is gone. They have young guys that really have to step up on the offensive line, and a projected true freshman starter in David Sanders Jr., some new young wide receivers coming up, and Peyton Lewis, who was only a sophomore at running back. I do think he has big breakout potential. But how good will Joey Aguilar be at quarterback? I really don't know. He didn't have the best season in 2024, and I really don't see him being much better than Nico Iamaleava. So I really think this offense has a lot of concerns, if I'm being honest with you. And defensively, they're not perfect there either. Look, I'm not going to spoil this whole video, but without further ado, let's get into predicting their schedule. Another team that took a massive hit this offseason was Syracuse. They actually only returned 32% of the production on offense. That is 128th in the country. Year 1 was a pretty solid year for Fran Brown, but there's a lot of work to do in the future, definitely next season. He's recruiting at an okay level, and he had a great transfer portal class last season, but this season he wasn't able to acquire the same type of talent, and they only return a couple of starters offensively, and 7 starters combined on offense and defense. They lose Kyle McCord, Rondo Gadsden, Trevor Penna at wide receiver, and so many more playmakers. I like the addition of Fran Brown as head coach. They had a good 10-win season last year, but they had an easy schedule and they actually had pretty good talent, but most of that talent is gone. This will be a reload year for them, and they're still kind of in rebuild mode. They're not usually a great program. Fran Brown still has more to prove there. I expect them to take a big step back. I think Tennessee can win this game comfortably in week 1 and move to 1-0. The following week, they will play ETSU at home. This is an FCS school. This is an FCS school that went 7-5, and 4 of their losses actually came by 1 possession. They nearly beat North Dakota State, a team that actually went to the FCS national title. So this might not be a type of game where Tennessee is up 70-0 at halftime like they were against Kent State, if you know what I mean. But regardless, give me them to win this game and move to 2-0. The following week, Tennessee will get Georgia at home. This will be a brutal early season game for them, and I really think Georgia has a huge advantage at the line of scrimmage in this game. Like I said, Tennessee lost James Pierce Jr., and they got a lot of young guys up front, especially on the O-line, and I could see Georgia's D-line pushing them around. And I think Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are just going to be a better all-around team next season. They add some good receivers in Noah Thomas and Zachariah Branch. They got a good backfield with Nate Frazier and Josh McCray. I think Georgia could bully Tennessee in this game. Tennessee continues to get dominated by Georgia in recent memory. I don't expect that to change next season, especially with the questions Tennessee has. I think they get blown out at home and move to 2-1 in this game. The following week, they will get UAB at home. And UAB is a team that has had a couple of tough seasons with new head coach Trent Dilfer. They missed a bowl game the last 2 seasons. Before Trent Dilfer had gotten there, they had made a bowl game actually the previous 6 seasons before that. So they were a pretty good program in the late 2010s. But the last 2 years have been a struggle for the new head coach, only winning 7 combined games. And they are nearly bottom of the country in return in production. This game will be very tough for them. I think Tennessee will win it and move to 3-1. The following week, they will get their first road game at Mississippi State. And Mississippi State is actually a team that has some offensive talent. I don't see them putting it all together next season. There's still a long ways to go, but I could see them getting an upset or two next season. Defensively, I don't expect them to be good at all, but they legitimately have one of the best backfields in the country. Davin Booth was a very good back last season, and they add a 1,000-yard back in Fluff Bothwell. They also add some talented receivers out of the portal, and the senior Blake Shapen is back. I am expecting a step back from Tennessee, and I think they're going to get upset on the road in this game. This is definitely a bold prediction, and it could end up being wrong, but sometimes you got to make these predictions. Tennessee ended up losing to Arkansas early last season. It was a game they should have won, and these games happen all the time in the SEC. And Mississippi State is a team that I think has sneaky offensive talent. I'm going to say they are able to upset Tennessee at home. I think Tennessee will lose this game and move to 3-2. Speaking of Arkansas, they will play Arkansas at home off of a bye week. I do see them bouncing back from that bad loss to Mississippi State, and I do think Tennessee will avenge their loss from last season. Arkansas should be an alright team and compete for a bowl game, but Sam Pittman still may be on the hot seat, and they still have a lot to prove. On the bright side, they got a good quarterback with upside in Taylon Green, but they only returned 8 starters and they lost a bunch of good receivers. They will have to reload at a lot of areas, and I just don't think they're that talented, and they got a tough schedule as well. I think they will lose on the road to Tennessee. That will be too big of a road test. Give me Tennessee to win this game and move to 4-2. The following week, though, Tennessee will go on the road to play Alabama. I think Alabama is going to be a much better team in year 2 under Kalen DeBoer. They have a lot of young talent that they retained. They returned 14 starters. And we got to remember, heading into last season, they had a lot of pressure. They had a new head coach and lost a lot of talent, and Nick Saban was gone. They got young wide receivers back in Jeremy Bernard and Ryan Williams. They got one of the best offensive lines in the country. They got a strong defense as well. And I think Ty Simpson will be just fine at quarterback under that offensive system. I really like this Alabama team as a whole, and I expect them to take a step forward this next season. I think they're going to be one of the better teams in the country. I think Tennessee will drop this game on the road, and they will move to 4-3. If it's not the Mississippi State road game, I could see Tennessee dropping this game on the road to Kentucky, because Kentucky is a team that I also think has some sneaky offensive talent. They have been a scrappy team under head coach Mike Stoops. They had a star receiver in Kendrick Law from Alabama. They got J.J. Hester and Troy Stellato as well. They returned Jamori Macklin and Fred Ferrier. I think Zach Calzada is an underrated quarterback pickup for them. He was very consistent last season. He had a great year for Incarnate Word, and not a lot of people are talking about his name. More people are talking about the Iowa quarterback. But honestly, if you compare their numbers last season, Zach Calzada looks like the better quarterback. I think people are overhyping that Iowa quarterback and too low on Zach Calzada. I think he'll be alright for Kentucky, and Kentucky should have an okay defense. Again, they're still not one of those good SEC teams. It's going to be tough to make a bowl game with the schedule, but they should definitely be in that conversation. And they did a good job on the portal with one of the better portal classes in the nation. But regardless, I had Tennessee getting upset at Mississippi State. I do think they'll be able to win this road game at Kentucky and move to 5-3. They will then play Oklahoma at home. This is totally a winnable game. Oklahoma has question marks at the line of scrimmage just like Tennessee, especially on the offensive line. But Tennessee does not have a quarterback like Oklahoma. Oklahoma has a dynamic quarterback in John Mateer, and they also got a great pickup in Jaden Ott at running back. They will have Deion Burks back from injury, and they have some receivers who can step up, and I think their defense could help them win this game on the road. And they also add a dynamic defensive edge in Marvin Jones Jr. I like Oklahoma's defense and I like their quarterback. I think that will be enough to get them this win. I think Tennessee will lose this game at home and move to 6-4. After a bye week, they will play New Mexico State at home. This will be a game to get back on the right track. It's basically a second bye week, to be honest. New Mexico State doesn't look that great heading into next season. They had that one good year with Diego Pavia, but they're usually not a great program. Give me Notre Dame to win this game comfortably and move to 6-4 on the season. Tennessee will then play Florida on the road, another one of those tough matchups on their schedule. Another game against a dynamic quarterback, and they have not beaten Florida on the road in nearly 20 years. It's been a couple of decades. And I think that trend will continue next season. I am expecting Florida to be pretty good next season. They returned 13 starters from last season. They are carrying over great momentum, and they have a 5-star quarterback in DJ Lagway, and they have an electric 5-star true freshman in Dallas Wilson. They are doing a good job at developing that young talent, and they are recruiting at a high level. I think breakthrough is coming for them. I don't know if they'll be a playoff contender. It's going to be tough with the schedule. But regardless, I think Florida is going to be a top 20 team on the field. Give me Tennessee to lose this game and move to 6-5. They will end their season with Vanderbilt at home. And believe it or not, I think this will be Tennessee's best win on the season. Can you imagine me saying that a season or two ago? Tennessee's best win in 2025 would be against Vanderbilt? What a joke. But it's not really a joke anymore because Vanderbilt is actually a solid team. I do think they will make it back to a bowl game, but I just don't know if they have the talent to beat Tennessee on the road. They have pretty underrated home field advantage. They were tricky at home last season. Teams do not like playing at Vanderbilt. It's a weird atmosphere. But I think the 1-2 of Diego Pavia and the tight end Eli Stowers is going to be dangerous. And they have a tough defense as well. I could see Tennessee struggling in this game. This could be a potential upset. But I will say Tennessee is able to get this win and finish the season 7-5. But there you have it. That is my prediction for Tennessee. I have them at 7-5. I just expect this team to take a step back. I think they have 2 losses on that schedule that are very likely in Florida and Oklahoma. 2 teams that they would have been favored against last season pretty easily, but 2 teams that are on the rise with good quarterbacks. I still like Josh Heupel. I think they have a bright future, but I think next year will be a reload when evaluating that roster. They have a lot to clean up. But regardless, you guys let me know your prediction on Tennessee football down in the comments below. Now let me remind you guys to like the video and also subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. And if you guys love college football, then you'll love this channel because we upload a ton of college football content. And we basically cover everything on this channel. So definitely consider subscribing and also consider checking out my socials down in the description below. But that is going to do it, guys, and peace out.